Welcome to the Akers Financial Group Winning in Retirement Classroom session. Today's talk is about Roth IRA, contributions and conversions, and why Roth IRA, the tax-free retirement vehicle, can be the right thing for you. So in today's talk, Alex Monk and myself will be going over some of the rules, some of the reasons to consider Roth IRA, and no matter what age that you look at this. For the webinar today, if you have any questions as we're going through, you can use the chat button at the bottom of the screen, and that'll help you be able to communicate with one of the advisors who's also listening along with you. If you have any other questions, you can contact us through our website or give us a call at our phone number, 410-692-9870. All right, for all those first-time watchers, we have a special Akers Financial blanket that you can request by giving us your name and address. So that's for first time. Everyone else will be receiving our lovely Kaplan pocket tables for tax guides, which gives you all the deductions and special rules and charts that we use in many of our talks is right here in the Kaplan pocket tables. And this is free to you for listening for our talk. We'll be sending this out to you. If you already got it once, we won't send you another. If you've been listening to all the webinars, we have to come up with another gift here later this summer. Our goal is to continue doing these throughout the summer, every 2 weeks, with the purpose of educating our clients and communicating with them about things that are important when it comes to pre-retirement and in your retirement years. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a talk on RMD and QCD. It's a perfect show or talk webinar for those people that are getting close to the age of 70 and a half and those turning 72. The difference in RMD, it did change in 2020 under the Secure Act. We'll have our talk on that in just 2 weeks. Now today we have the Roth IRA conversion and contribution. That's what we're going to be covering. And I actually get to lead it off with us today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started on our Roth IRA contributions and conversions talk for today. As we begin at Akers Financial Group, we are actually licensed as stockbrokers under Series 7. That's myself, Brian Akers, also my cousin and Vice President Jeff Akers, CFP, Alex Monk, CFP, Bernie McVeigh, and our paraplanner, Nathan McDuffie, are all Series 7 stockbrokers. And all of us, and then that's through Kalos Capital, our broker-dealer. Their job is to watch over us and basically hold us in compliance at all times. We also are under Kalos Management as investment advisor representatives. That gives us the ability to work with people for financial planning advice. We charge planning fees or investment management fees through that licensing. And of course, we're life and health license, and we wanted to disclose about what we're doing and how we're doing it together. So let's go ahead and get started on our talk today. When do you want to pay taxes on your retirement money? A is going to be never. B is at the highest rate, and C is at their lowest. Sounds like a pretty good question, right? I mean, there's obviously only one answer, and that's never. I never want to pay tax. Well, we don't want to pay tax, but there are times in life when we have to pay tax, and we have to understand when it is best. Now, the reality is never is not going to happen. The IRS will find the money somehow. The reality is most people they want to pay the taxes when they're the lowest. And one of the things we want to talk about is 2021 the lowest? Is this the year that you might need to consider taking your IRA money and putting it into some type of Roth IRA through the process of conversion? Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this. Over the years, people have had retirement accounts. Those retirement accounts could be a regular traditional IRA where you take a deduction and that money goes into that IRA and it'll be pre-taxed. You take it off your taxes, you pay tax now. Now, normally you put in your contribution. If you're over 50, that's $7,000. If you're under 50, that's $6,000 for the year 2021. When we take that contribution, that small amount, and let it grow in a traditional IRA or any of the pre-tax plans, 401k, 403b, TSP, 457, whatever the numbers are, any pre-tax plan, that small pile of money will grow, and then you pay the tax on the way out. Over the years, the Roth IRA came out in 1998. And people could even convert back then and spread it out over time. Nowadays, whenever we convert, we got to pay the tax on the amount that we convert. But we can control that by IRA to Roth conversions, which we'll try to explain a little bit more throughout the talk today. As we're doing this, people have pensions. Now, pensions are provided by your employer. Pensions are going to be taxable when they come out. For retirees in the state of Maryland, once you hit 65, you'll have a pension exclusion for some of that. If you retire in Pennsylvania, IRA withdrawals and even pensions and Social Security are all tax-free on withdrawal in Pennsylvania. There's other states, as you head down south, have advantages for each of these different types of pensions or payouts. But mainly what we're talking about today is savings, where we put money into our company plan or traditional IRA, and it's growing pre-taxed. And what happens is we'll have to pay that taxes later. The concept was always that we would be saving while we're working, higher bracket, and we would retire into a lower bracket. The sad part is when you retire into a lower bracket, that means you retire into less money. And most people don't want to retire with less money, maybe 80%, 85% of their pay, but not 50% or anything like that, that would cut down that tax bracket. And then there's some things with 401ks that came out where they actually allow Roth 401ks. That's where you can pay tax now and never again. A Roth IRA has a contribution limit of $6,000 if you're less than 50 and $7,000 if you're over 50 years old. If you have earned income, that's money that typically comes through a business or W-2. If you have that income, there's some other exceptions. When that money comes in, you can put that into a Roth IRA, no matter what your age is. It's a way of funding a tax-free account, which we absolutely love. A Roth 401k is through the employer, Roth TSP through the employer. Your money you put in goes in after tax. You pay tax now. So we put $100 into your retirement plan. Really, your paycheck will be hit by more than that because you're paying tax on that $100. Typically, if you pre-tax a 401k, what you'll see is that the $100 you go in, you actually only see $75 difference on your taxes, or actually on your net pay, because they take out taxes. So when we're talking about retirement, the Roth 401k, the Roth IRA can be a great vehicle because that'll be some tax-free money. Now, employer matches, pensions, things like that are always going to be taxed as they come out. So we need to have balance in our retirement years. This kind of option is really good. Let's explore the Roth IRA and see if it makes sense and if it's right for you.
Which one of these IRAs is right for you? And really, the question we got to ask ourselves is this: do we want to take the tax break now, or do we want to take the tax break later? So what that means is when you contribute to your traditional IRA, you don't pay taxes now, you pay them in the future. And when you contribute to a Roth, you pay the taxes now. And then when you take it out down the road, you don't have to pay taxes. So if all things are being equal, then, it shouldn't make a difference if tax rates stayed static. But that's the thing that we have to consider is, do we think tax brackets are going to stay the same? I just don't know that that's going to be the case. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. And we'll talk about some reasons why we think paying taxes now is the right answer. I'm not sure if anyone's heard, but currently we have a good bit of debt here in the US. And with everything that's gone on, from the last, I guess, almost year and a half, year or so with the pandemic and all the stimulus and the trillions of dollars that have been printed, the debt has gone up dramatically. And it's widening the gap between the money that we're bringing in as a country. So there's only so many ways to make those changes, right? I'm not sure if anybody knows this, but $1 trillion is a ton of money. $1 trillion in dollar bills. I mean, this chart is it's almost laughable how high that stack of $1 bills would be. So $1 trillion, it's such a big number that we don't even, it's like a numb number, right? It's so big, you can't even fathom it. But the US has trillions of dollars of debt. And that's something we're going to have to address either in the near future, in the mid to long range future, but we know for a fact in the future we're going to have to deal with it. And right now, tax rates really are not too bad. If I had to guess, our taxes going up, our taxes going down, I would definitely say they're going to go up. Uh, we know for a fact that the current tax code may change in the future because it has an expiration on it, but there's been talk already that taxes may be changed as early as next year, definitely going in the upper direction. Regardless of what side of the political fence you're on, it's just a fact of how do we deal with what has happened here in the US? How do we handle our debt as a country? And when the only way to make money is to tax the people, I would think it's a pretty good call to say taxes will be going up. Now, this chart here shows income tax rates in the US, marginal income tax rates. So basically what it shows right now, we are in a tax sale. World War I, World War II, all those different events, the highest tax rates were 80, 90, way up there. And right now we're under 50% for the highest marginal tax rates. And really, even for those lower brackets, they've been stretched, and it's a really good time to pay tax. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, these current laws were placed in force by a prior administration, and they had a sunset. So we know for a fact that they are going to end in 2026, if not sooner. So if they just go back, right, if nothing happens from now until 2026 with the tax code, they're just going to revert back to where they were. And that would be 2017 tax rates. Now, there are a lot of changes with the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So those will most likely go away. And let's just assume that they convert back to what they used to be, and all else remains equal. There's going to be higher tax rates. Not only do they have smaller brackets for the lower, middle, all the levels, they're higher rates. Now, we will get some different types of deductions back, most likely, in the Schedule A. But if we had to, let's put on our critical thinking hats. If they are needing more money, they're going to adjust these rates higher, and they're going to have to keep taking things away, unfortunately. So until they do that, we need to pay the taxes. I don't like getting caught blindsided by anything. I don't want taxes to show up and ruin one of our plans or take more than we thought just because we didn't plan correctly. So, it's our opinion that taxes will be going up in the future, and we need to pay the tax now. I think it's a really, really good time to do so. That's why every year we want to see, okay, where's our income? Where are we going to fall tax-wise? And that's just an estimate. We just need to be able to get close. And then we can decide, okay, do we want to convert? Do we want to take more money out of the retirement accounts this year and realize it? Do we want to give more to charity to reduce our taxable income so we can do other things like conversions or other withdrawals? So taking away one thing from this, I think, is tax rates are going up. We don't know how much. We know they're going up at least in 2026, maybe sooner. And that's why it's a very, very good time to pay taxes.
Hello, it's Brian Akers, and we're going to start talking more about Roth IRAs. So let's begin with Roth IRA contributions. Yes, we encourage each and every one that can to do a Roth IRA contribution. The contributions are $6,000 if you're under 50. Once you get 50 years old or older, you're allowed to do $7,000 this year. There is income restrictions on who can make Roth IRA contributions. Basically, it's married filing jointly. In 2021, it's 198,000 is the income that sort of phases out. Once you get over that income, you cannot do a regular Roth contribution. And then there's another concept called backdoor Roth, which we're not covering today. And of course, singles are below 125 for 2021. On the chart here, I'm showing you 2020 and 2021, because until May 17th this year, we can still put money into a Roth for 2020. A spousal IRA contribution, what happens is this: if one of the two spouses is working a job If they make enough to earned income, then both of them can do a Roth IRA. One's doing based on their income, the other one's doing a spousal Roth IRA, which is perfectly okay. And there's a way to put away from $7,000 per person, or a total of $14,000 for Roth contributions. You must have earned income to be able to do a Roth contribution, and there is no age limit. The reason we want you to consider doing this is that a Roth IRA has great benefits. The tax-free income in retirement, it keeps your income low in retirement because when you use this money, you don't pay tax at all. That's a great thing. And that's why we need to talk about Roth conversions. Roth conversion is where we take money out of an IRA or an employer plan and convert that into tax. Let's go through a couple of things before we get into that a little heavier. The Roth IRA benefits: tax-free income retirement, keep taxable income low, even when taxes increase, which we think they will be. Tax-free distributions from the Roth IRA will not expose investment income to a 3.8 surtax. A 3.8% increase in taxes is applied for people that earn over $250,000. And there's no required distributions for Roth IRA owners or spousal beneficiaries, but RMDs, required minimum distributions, must be taken for non-spouse IRA beneficiaries. Now let's cover more about this Roth conversion. Here's the idea is this. Roth IRA conversion is the process of moving your IRA or employer plan to a Roth IRA. Typically, your employer plan is not going to allow you to convert while you're at that plan. You're going to need to move the money from an employer plan to an IRA, then from an IRA to a Roth in most cases. Not every case, but most cases. First thing is this, is when will you need the money? If you have an immediate need for funds or need them to continue for your current standard of living, then a Roth IRA conversion is probably not for you. However, if there's no immediate income need, a Roth IRA conversion is potentially a great way for funds to grow tax-free over your lifetime. Where will the money come from to pay the tax? We highly recommend that this money comes from outside of your retirement money. We do not want you doing tax withholding on the Roth conversion. Thus, you need to pay tax on a lot higher amount. It causes that money take a long time to really break even on the advantages of doing the Roth in and of itself. What do you think future tax rates will be? If you believe that your tax rate will be even or higher than a Roth IRA works, if you think your tax rate will drop down when you're retirement, you should not do a Roth conversion. Conversion is, like I was saying earlier, is taking IRA or employer money, paying the tax now, and put it tax-free and let it grow tax-free and never pay tax again. Other reasons consider a Roth IRA conversion. You may have favorable tax attributes in the year of the conversion, such as large charitable deductions, net operating loss, tax credits. You will not have to take requirement of distributions until you're starting at age 72. You will have the ability to make contributions even after 72 if there's an eligible earned income. So a Roth conversion is perfect when you don't have a high income year. Like if you postpone your Social Security to take that later and you have a low income year, hey, and you'll live off your savings as an example, go ahead and consider Roth conversions. Other reasons not to consider Roth IRA conversion. You have aversion to paying tax up front. You just don't want to do it. You don't trust the government because they'll keep the tax-free, will keep the tax-free deal. You plan to name a charity as your Roth IRA beneficiary, which we do not recommend that. We rather the IRA go to a charity because that's completely income tax-free. All right, let's go on to Roth conversions. Sometimes there's an argument of pay now, pay later, it's all the same. So what we're gonna try to do is this, just a little bit of reasons why we think it's so important to consider Roth IRAs and Roth conversion. Some people believe a lost opportunity cost by doing a Roth conversion, that the funds used to pay the conversion tax could have been otherwise invested, and that investment return opportunity is lost. And that's what people think, and that's one of the reasons they might not do a Roth conversion. We think it's absolutely false. It's all about the tax rate that you're in now and the tax rate that you'll be in during your retirement years. There is no opportunity cost in terms of lost investment gains if the tax rates are the same, both at conversion and later at distribution. Let's look at the math. Here's no Roth conversion. You have $100,000 on the IRA, and it doubles in value over a lifetime. That double equals 200,000. The taxes on 200,000 be at 30% is $140,000 net after tax. If we converted that money right away, and so we took the $30,000 out, paid a tax, which don't recommend that, but of course, in this example, we do to make this an even calculation. You only start with $70,000 and you double it in the same lifetime calculation, you know, with $140,000. So if tax rates are the same, the concept is you're going to be paying the same amount of money on the Roth conversion now as you will throughout your lifetime. Thus, if taxes really start to go up, then we are have a great advantage. Now, Ed Slott is someone who I know, and I actually am a master elite IRA person with Ed Slott. When tax rates increase, anything tax-free becomes immediately more valuable. That is why we think Roth is a big deal, especially right now. Now, tax on Roth IRA distributions. Yes, there's some catches to the Roth IRA. Let me just cover a little bit. Are you withdrawing a contribution? Roth IRA contributions are the annual amounts that you contribute to a Roth IRA. The distribution of a Roth IRA contribution will always be both tax and penalty free. You're putting the money in after tax. It's always your money. That's point number one. Point two, are you withdrawing converted amounts before age 59 and a half? Converted is if you do the conversion, you pull money out of an IRA, pay the tax, it goes into that Roth IRA. If you are doing the following, converted funds are never subject to income tax. However, when they will be subject to the 10% penalty for early distributions, if you're under 59 and a half and they have been in a Roth IRA for less than 5 years. So there is a 10% penalty so that no one does a quick turnaround where you convert it IRA to Roth and pull your money out thinking you can avoid the penalty. That doesn't work. There is a penalty. You have to wait 5 years on every conversion. Each conversion starts its own 10% penalty. Ordering of funds. This is about Roth IRA distributions. And if you're younger than 59 and a half, the key thing about Roth IRAs is if you start a Roth contribution IRA, it needs to wait 5 years before you can take it out. The sooner you start a Roth IRA, you start this 5-year clock, and it makes it work very well. It usually doesn't ever come into place, but if it ever does, make sure you know there's a 5-year wait on IRA growth, on Roth IRA growth. Are you withdrawing a converted amount after 5 years or at age 59 and a half? A distribution of converted funds after 5 years or after 59 and a half will be entirely income tax and penalty free. So after 5 years or after 59 and a half, you're fine. Are you withdrawing earnings before 59 and a half? Well, 59 and a half is the key age. The answer is you still have a 10% penalty. If you're withdrawing after 59 and a half and 5 years, earnings withdrawn after 59 and a half are never subject to 10%. They may, however, be subject to income tax. If you have a Roth IRA for more than 5 years, your earnings are tax-free. If not, they're taxed at ordinary income rates. So the idea is just generally, there is a 5-year rule. When you convert, you got to make sure this money is in there 5 years. All right, the questions to ask in every Roth conversion. I'll try to review this one more time. When, what, and where? When will the money be needed? We think you need to let this money grow 8 to 15 years as a time horizon to get advantage of the tax-free growth. We'd love to see it grow. We also want Roth IRAs to be invested to grow. What will future tax rates be compared to current tax rates? Very important to have your thoughts down on this. Where will the money to pay the tax come from? Like we said earlier, it's got to come from an outside source. Do you have these funds available to pay a conversion tax? Are they sitting in a savings account, in a bank account? They're earning zero. We can use it to pay the tax now and make this money grow tax-free for a lifetime. It's non-IRA funds is best. we do advise many people to do partial conversions, some each year, trying to keep you in a certain tax bracket as not to pay too much at any one time. The converted amount is added to your ordinary income, which can affect deductions, phase outs, financial aid, Medicare Part B, etc. That's Medicare Part B and some other phases here do trigger as you get older, but financial aid can trigger if you have a kid in college, you want to watch doing conversions during that time. We highly recommend that the younger you are, you consider doing a Roth conversion of your money whenever you change jobs. We have clients that convert later in the year when income and deduction may be better estimated. So for this year, 2021, we would love to have everyone come in the fourth quarter and let's do a tax estimate and see how much money we should convert. We love to look at a series of smaller annual conversions to build Roth IRAs over several years rather than taking all the tax hit at once, unless you are at the highest brackets, which is over 400,000, even above 600,000 are the final two brackets that will be affected by the tax increase in 2026 or sooner. All right, let's finish up here. Other reasons to consider converting your IRA or 401k to a Roth. Tax-free growth, number one. Tax-free withdrawals, get to use the money and not pay tax. Gotta like that. You have $1 in the account, it's that $1 yours. No RMDs, no required minimum withdrawal. Tax-free death benefit to your heirs. This money is tax-free to everybody. Inherited Roth IRA is the fact that you receive that, then you get that money and you can put it into an account where you can use that money over a 10-year period. It does lower provisional income, which is a calculation done for those that are paying tax on Social Security. So by converting, we've actually had a couple cases by converting to a Roth, they never had to pay tax again on their Social Security. And the lower you keep your income in the future, you can actually eliminate capital gains by knowing the capital gains tax bracket. All right, so today we've been talking about Roth IRA contributions and conversions. A lot of information, a little bit dry probably. We recommend that you do one thing, and that is set a time with an advisor here at Akers Financial Group. Sit down and talk about a Roth IRA and how it can work for you. Oh, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed our Roth IRA talk today. I do have that blanket for all first-time viewers of our webinars. We have this wonderful fleece blanket that is yours for all first time. And if you need a second one for the spouse at your house, give us a call and ask him, hey, to send one out for that. We have a few more left. We're not sure how many more webinars we'll be able to keep handing these out. So today's talk, Roth IRA contributions and conversions, is something that we think is extremely important for you to see if it applies to you. If we have money to pay the tax, 2021 could be the right year to convert some of your IRA money and pay that tax now and never again. It's good for you in the future and as a legacy to your family. All right, so that's our talk for today. We have our pocket tables coming to you. If you didn't already get one, the blanket, hopefully you're getting signed up for in 2 weeks. We're going to have a talk for required minimum distributions. We call them RMDs, and QCDs, qualified charitable distributions. It's a way to reduce the taxation of the RMD if you give to charity and are not able to take the deduction off your income taxes. So Akers Financial Group and a radio show, Winning in Retirement, which is on 105.7 The Fan every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. If you can't catch that because you're busy, you can go to our website at akersfinancial.com. At akersfinancial.com, you click the radio tab. On that radio tab, you can actually click inside there and listen to former shows that we've had. So we hope you go there and find out more. The idea here is to educate and get information to you guys, especially throughout this year when we can't get together. Thank you very much for your time today and enjoy your rest of the day.